Okay, what we have here is the newer Chrysler radios, and this is a from a 2008 Compass, and it will be desirable to turn these on the bench. And I have found several projects with the Arduinos and so forth that are claiming to turn these radios on, but yet every time I have tried it, it's very difficult. They won't stay on, or the clock doesn't function, or something doesn't function correctly, or the station frequency is off, and never could identify it or get it all functioning. So after spending some time on it, I thought I would just chase it down with the original vehicle components and go on eBay. This radio was about $25 on eBay, and I'm thinking this was around $30. This is the whole complete ignition assembly, which basically I was lucky to get the key and the security module, I think is what they're calling this, and the ignition switch here itself. These are a little different from the old-fashioned. These don't have the actual power running through them. They're just sending a resistance signal back to the totally integrated power module here, which is one of the key items needed. They call these totally integrated power modules on the Dodge, Jeep, and Chrysler vehicles. GM calls it the body control computer. And this is basically a fuse box integrated here with a body control computer. And everything is controlled here. The data is sent through the CAN bus data here. To turn on the radio. It actually turns on the instrument panel and several other things, controls several other things in the vehicle. And this is responsible for all of your data lines, your diagnostic connector. This is your high-speed CAN bus and your data connector as well, and all of that. So all we have to do is power this up with 12 volts and ground, and I'll go over that in a moment. Stick your key in, we send the data out to turn on the panel, turn the key on, and our panel comes up. Also our radio, and of course we can turn our radio on. You know, we can volume up and down and go through our channels and whatnot. These radios, like I say, can be had. This one was about $25. They can be had with DVD players, CD players, and so forth on them. Also have another model that is from a newer vehicle that has a DVD player, which is quite nice to have. And these, like I say, can be had cheap because no one really knows how to turn them on or doesn't desire to. But you can use them in the shop or on a bench very easily with this setup here, which allows you to turn on. Originally, some of the users on YouTube was saying you needed an instrument panel to communicate back with it. I found out that wasn't necessarily true, that you can actually just turn it on. So really the only components you do need the ignition switch assembly, because without your ignition switch you have no way to turn on the body control module, and of course you'll need the radio, but you can disconnect the instrument panel and be just fine. The one I had is from a 2008. It is from a Jeep Compass. The radio is also from a Jeep Compass as well. I think the panel here is actually from a 2014 Jeep Compass as well. So it's one of the deals where we found out that the low speed and the high speed data, I'm going to have to investigate some more on it. The service information I was able to find on a website. Just go online, you can Google it. This one was from a 2007 model, which actually the pinouts still worked out, the leaving you to wire up the ignition switch, and you can find the totally integrated power module and wire up the ignition. Then you can wire up the instrument panel if you have it. If you so desire, all the other stuff, there's door locks, door latches, and stuff you can experiment with. But all I had here was the basics, like say to turn on the stereo, And like I say, all you need if you're just interested in the stereo is the ignition switch itself, this assembly, and you will need, of course, the radio and the totally integrated power module. And you will need to make up a wiring harness. Luckily, I was able to get a hold of the connectors still attached, and enough connectors here, and make up my own little custom harness here just to go between them, and that works out well. So as you can see, that's the easiest answer for the money, because with all the Arduino stuff, the programming and the headache you have involved in trying to do that, and I still have not succeeded that, but I did wire up my own the CAN connector here. I did leave me an external wire so I could go out and experiment with that later and try to break apart the data and try to see if I can replicate that on a Arduino circuit, or try to see if I can at least do it without the totally integrated power module. But at this point, I've not been able to do that. There seems to be some proprietary signaling coming out of here that it's kind of hard to duplicate. But anyhow, this setup here is very simple. If you shop around on eBay, you can find the components that you need to make this happen. And like I say, this is not necessary to have the cluster. Everything works just fine without it. You're basically just powering from the ignition switch, giving a turn on command to turn on the totally integrated power module, which in turn through the CAN bus turns on the radio. On the radio itself, if you're looking at the connections, so all you basically have is power and ground from battery and the CAN data itself, so very little involved in that, and then your speaker connections. So the only thing that actually turns this radio on is the CAN data itself. Hope this helps, and like I say, you can find all the information. The service manual was from a 2007 model that I used, and the 2008 Compass radio, this was a 2014, I believe, instrument cluster, which is not needed. This was a 2008 totally integrated power module. And once again, all you need to do is just turn on the key, and the key in the on position, and you have the radio. And that's all you're needing to desire. That keeps you operational at a much cheaper, easier way to do. Have any questions or comments, leave them below.